The worst date of my life turned into the greatest love story ever. The date started with my car breaking down, and I had to hitch a ride with him to the restaurant in his mom's minivan. We got to the restaurant about 20 minutes late, and the reservation we had no longer existed, so we decided to eat at the taco stand down the road. Then it started raining outside while we were waiting for our food, and neither of us had umbrellas or were dressed for the weather. Then he suddenly sneezed into my hair, startling me and spraying snot all over me. I curled my lip up in disgust and grabbed some napkins from the food truck, wiping at my hair frantically while he stood there with a sheepish smile on his face. As we waited in line, I couldn't help thinking that this was turning out to be the worst date ever. Turns out the date was about to get even worse. First, the taco truck ran out of steak. Then his card declined when he tried to pay for his food. I didn't care much about that. I paid and it was fine. But then he spilled salsa on me when he was trying to pour some on his tacos. The rain picked up speed and my mascara started running down my cheeks. I should have put on waterproof mascara. Then something seemed to shift when the rain started slowing down, and I stopped shivering from the cold. He told me a story about how he used to burn water, which is why he was no longer allowed in the kitchen at home. I couldn't stop laughing at his story. Not wanting the date to end so soon, we walked to the nearby park where he showed me pictures of his cats, and I told him about the time I pranked my brother with a water gun full of expired milk. He snorted into his taco, and I thought that this date was actually going pretty well. Maybe things were turning around for us. The conversation was flowing way easier than any conversation I've had in the past few months. At one point, our hands drifted together and I shivered at the touch of his unusually warm skin. He was warm even though he was soaked to the bone from the rain, but at least we stopped shivering and our teeth stopped chattering. Then he reached up to brush a soaking wet lock of hair behind my ear, and his face was so close to mine. I could lean forward and kiss him. I almost did, but then I saw something behind him. Someone looked familiar, and as I leaned around Eli, my date, I noticed it was my brother, with my ex-best friend, Maisie. Maisie was the one who ruined my reputation at school last week, saying I slept around with the entire football team. I had no idea why she stabbed me in the back like that. My heart dropped into my gut and my fingers began to shake as I stared at them. What were they doing together? Suddenly, this date didn't seem as bright and happy as it did a minute ago. Eli followed my gaze and raised an eyebrow. Do you know them? He asked curiously. I nodded. That's my brother and my ex-best friend, I said. My voice trailed off as my throat threatened to close. She's the one who spread those rumors about you last week, right? He asked. I jerked back to stare at him. How did you know that? He smiled sheepishly. Because of what happened at her party last night, he answered. I frowned. I didn't even know she had a party, I muttered. But it suddenly made sense where my brother went last night and how guilty he looked as he left without telling me where he was going. Eli nodded with a shrug. I kind of forced her to tell the truth to everyone there, he said. She told us the reason why she turned everyone against you was because she has a huge crush on your brother and thought he couldn't divide his attention between the two of you. I stared at him before barking out aloud. My brother and I hardly even hang out, I said. She can have all his attention. My brother and Maisie walked over to us. Maisie looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. My brother dragged her in front of him and gave her a little push. Go on, he ordered. Maisie sighed and tears filled her eyes. I'm sorry, she said to me. I'm sorry for all of it. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded at her. They left, realizing that was all they'd get out of me at the moment. I didn't know if I was going to forgive her, but I accepted her apology. I turned to Eli and smiled shyly. Your brother asked me to take you here today, he said softly. I guess this was a setup to bring Maisie here and apologize to you. I shrugged and nodded. So, same time next week, he continued with a warm laugh. I grinned, realizing that I would love nothing more than a second date. Absolutely, I said. And that was how I met my future husband.